Fans really set up aespa with this comparison because not only does it look nothing alike, but we can all collectively think of something that looks a lot more similar. Hi, welcome. My name is Angelina and you're watching an episode of K-pop Investigations, where I basically take a specific subject and do a little bit of a deep dive into it. And today we're going to take a look at the infamous comparisons between aespa and BLACKPINK. Who is copying who? Was anyone copying anyone? These accusations have really been rampant since even before aespa debuted. But I was mostly inspired by this sudden turn of events where now it seems people are accusing BLACKPINK of copying aespa. So since this isn't the first time this has been a subject of discussion, I thought we could take a look into it. Which ones have any standing? Which ones are just huge stretches? I really wanted to take a look at it, give my unsolicited opinion. As someone who loves making videos on why certain music videos are familiar and so on, I am no stranger to making comparisons. So if you're interested, then please keep on watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with friends you don't have. You can also subscribe and all that jazz. So basically, for aespa's entire career, which is only 2 years, that sounds very dramatic, they have been accused of copying BLACKPINK for a variety of reasons, for having 4 members, to having, similar girl crush concept. But since BLACKPINK released their music video for Ready for Love, we see them as avatars, and people have there's a curious change and turn in events here. So is this karma for Blinks, who have accused for years now everyone and their mothers of copying BLACKPINK? Is aespa actually walking a fine line? Or is this just the price of reaching such incredible levels of fame? To start off, are there similarities between BLACKPINK and aespa? 100%. I don't really think that's up for discussion. They're both 4-member girl groups from big companies, and they make use of a strong girl crush concept. I would point out, however, that this isn't something truly revolutionary. And honestly, you don't really need much to be compared to BLACKPINK because they are the biggest girl group. Their styling, their music, their concept is inevitably at the forefront of people's minds. So no matter what comes after them, we're inevitably going to want to make these comparisons. We all remember a couple of years ago when Everglow was suddenly being accused of copying BLACKPINK. They didn't even have the same amount of members, but from outfits to sound to concept, of course, we tend to think of BLACKPINK. And I think a lot of people put them on a pedestal thinking, hey, they really created this girl crush concept. This is BLACKPINK's concept, which if you've been around long enough, is not true. Of course, we can agree that BLACKPINK's popularity skyrocketed this concept, but it was definitely a thing before them. For example, before we were accusing everyone of copying BLACKPINK, there were a lot of 21 BLACKPINK comparisons being made. Again, both 4-member girl groups from actually the same company, both using strong girl crush concepts, and the same producer. But I'd say these accusations were a little bit darker since YG himself came out and said he wanted to make a pretty version of 21. So obviously that rubbed people the wrong way. My point is, we naturally want to make comparisons, and I don't think that's inherently wrong. Because we can also acknowledge that BLACKPINK and aespa are very different groups. BLACKPINK's concept is not dependent on this AI universe that aespa has for themselves. Sure, they might both use girl crush, but I would say they use girl crush in a different way, with aespa's use of it being, of course, more futuristic. We also have the fact that they sound quite different. I mean, aespa sounds like a typical SM group. They have this strange vocal editing with much emphasis on those vocals. A more quote-unquote experimental sound, whereas BLACKPINK sounds like a typical YG group. What can I say? Obviously still maintaining beautiful vocals, but a bit more emphasis on rap. And honestly, their discography side by side, even though they're around the same size, I don't think I would mistake one for the other. But I digress. We can totally acknowledge similarities because there are similarities. So let's take a look at some of the most striking instances of similarities that are not related to concept and not related to the number of members. I think the first ever comparison that was made was between aespa's I version of Ning Ning and Lisa. So if we look at this picture, obviously a lot of people would agree that it doesn't quite look like Ning Ning. However, people brought up this photo in particular of Lisa, and it looked a little bit more like Lisa than it did Ning Ning. There's no denying that the pictures are very similar. They're wearing incredibly similar outfits, but I wouldn't say that this is plagiarism because first of all, it's really within the outfits that we see the similarities. I mean, the face and the hair really don't scream Lisa, not that they scream Ning Ning either, but I just don't think it counts as plagiarism. I think in a court of law, if you brought this up, they would look at you funny. Especially with outfit plagiarism, it can be a little tricky. If you change enough things, then it's not really considered plagiarism. But then like people get away with a lot of outfit plagiarism anyways. But I digress. Within the same realm of fashion, we also have aespa's Coachella outfits that are eerily similar to BLACKPINK's Coachella outfits. And I know for sure I'm not the only one in thinking this. The first time I saw aespa's pictures at Coachella, for a split second, I thought, is that BLACKPINK? What the fuck? Then you like look at everyone and you're like, wait a minute, that's not Rosie. aespa are wearing black and silver outfits, with one member being a little bit more silver. Now, BLACKPINK had 2 sets of Coachella outfits, but they're really on the same wavelength. Despite the fact that the outfits are not exactly the same, it seems even down to the hair color, we're able to find some similarities, we're able to make some connections. We definitely couldn't consider this plagiarism. However, BLACKPINK's Coachella outfits are recognizable enough that we make those connections to them. Then lastly, for the fashion realm, we also had this instance of people accusing aespa of copying BLACKPINK's Knowing Bros outfit. Now, yeah, they're pretty similar, but also I don't think aespa had a lot to work with around this schoolgirl dress code. That's literally what you wear on this show. No shit, they had to look like schoolgirls. Moving on to choreography, I think there's, of course, again, no denying that there's some similarities within the choreography. I have been known to make videos showcasing said similarities. You know, all K-pop dances are the same. Same with ITZY and Red Velvet. For some choreographies, we can tie them back to aespa and BLACKPINK. It's not uncommon for these groups to use the same choreographers, and then inevitably it's not uncommon for the choreographer to add their signature to the dances that they're creating. But this is one of my favorite types of similarities to enjoy looking at. So let me show you some. We of course have the head bobbing move that we can find in How You Like That and Savage, but we can also see this in ITZY's Not Shy. We even have this triangle move that we see in Lovesick Girls and as well in Black Mamba, but this is super common. I remember CLC doing it, a couple other groups as well. Moving on to more recently, where it seems the tides have turned. Now suddenly, BLACKPINK are the ones being accused of copying aespa. So we know by now BLACKPINK released their music video for Ready for Love, where they themselves are avatars. We see the 4 members animated in this beautiful magical world that doesn't quite exist. Most notably, however, we have these 2 photos going around. So we have BLACKPINK's Ready for Love promotional material and then the cover for Dreams Come True. I mean, yes, I see similarities. I think you would too. There's no need to deny that there's similarities or pretend like they're not there when they are. It's fine to admit that they're using the same concept of, you know, different shades of purple, this fake beautiful world. But 1000%, it looks similar. And I think this similarity alone has kind of caused this snowball effect where all these other random ass comparisons are being made that hold very little integrity? Now, aespa, since they debuted, have been very consistent with their concept, this AI concept where the members themselves have their eye counterparts. We were also introduced to this world of Kwanya. However, we do know for sure that SM was heavily influenced by art that already existed, to the point where they were accused of plagiarizing these teaser pictures. They ended up working together in the end. But nevertheless, despite this fact, this is still a concept that you heavily associate with aespa no matter what. And I'm not gonna lie, when I did see the music video for Ready to Love, I did think of aespa. Not necessarily because of the avatars. Avatar versions of idols are not the most common, though they have been done before. I don't know if we're still acknowledging the existence of Zepeto. I'd personally prefer not to. But it wasn't necessarily the use of avatars that made me think of aespa, because we've seen it before. We've seen it with KDA. All that to say, we're well aware that aespa didn't innovate this concept. They didn't create this concept, though again, they are quite known for it. However, there are some comparisons that really made me laugh. Now, I love pointing out similarities, you guys all know that, and these do seem like similarities that I would point out realistically, but I'm never here to accuse people of plagiarism. But anyways, let's take a look. So here's a picture of Jennie's avatar and a random picture of Karina. Do they look similar? I mean, I guess with like the pose and the hair, but mostly I think our eyes are really drawn to the fact that both are making use of the color blue. Because otherwise, do they have the same outfit? No. Are they even having the same concept? No. One is a promotional official photo while the other one was taking a fucking inkigayo, I don't know. The hair is pretty similar, but Jennie rarely changes her hair. Can we really fault her for that? Same with this picture of Lisa and Winter. Concept's completely different. It's really just the hair. Winter just recently chopped her hair like this with the bangs, but we know for a fact that Lisa's bangs are glued on permanently, never to be removed. But it's a fun similarity. Then this one is plagiarismception because we have Rosie's avatar next to Ning Ning at Coachella. This was a setup. This was a setup because they don't look the same at all. And then on top of that, we can all think of one picture that looks a little bit more similar. We then have this picture where all virtual members are lined up as such. The concept of the pose is similar, but I don't think it's anything super original. And again, different concepts. Moving on. Then this last one, it's Jenny in Ready for Love. She's on water and there's these animations of the water. Then we have this picture of Karina as well with some water, but we all have to admit that Twice did it first. So with these accusations, of course, fans are quick to point out that, BLACKPINK had avatars first. They had avatars before aespa even debuted. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's super important to point out who did what before the other when none of them did it first. The facts are, BLACKPINK, though they didn't invent Girl Crush, are very well known for Girl Crush, and aespa, though they didn't invent this use of AI concept, are very well known for it. These concepts existed before them and they will continue to exist after them, but that doesn't mean that one or the other can't make use of those concepts. No, groups are not copying BLACKPINK just because they're using Girl Crush, and no, using avatars in a fake world doesn't mean you're copying aespa. These works of art existed before. But because they're so well known for their respective traits, I think it's normal and natural to make the comparisons. We're always going to be able to find similarities. It doesn't necessarily mean that one group is copying the other, though it's really not far-fetched to think that a group as big as BLACKPINK wouldn't have elements of what they're doing copied because it is successful. Just like BLACKPINK themselves have been inspired. Which just brings us to our last similarity, which is actually something my friend Sherry brought up, my toxic Blink friend, shout out to her. She's always telling me that more so than aesthetics and concept, aespa are really taking BLACKPINK's route in terms of marketing strategies. SM all of a sudden is making use of one producer to create this consistent sound throughout all of their discography, which is something a lot of people berated BLACKPINK for, always having that titty flair to their songs. We should just be thankful they're not copying YG's strategy of starving their fans. But anyways, do you think these groups are copying each other, or do you think at the end of the day it's really just a stretch and the elements that are being quote unquote copied or are being followed are just proof of the natural progression of how we move forward and being able to get music to larger audiences? Let me know in the comments down below. That is basically it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with friends you don't have, and subscribe and all that jazz. You can also join my channel members by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button. These are the lovely individuals who help support my channel. Thank you so much. As for me, I'm gonna get going, but I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Is it a crime to have a 4-member girl group with the exact same concepts? BLACKPINK would say no. I'm so scared right now.